Mm. Yeah, I mean, at the very least, it doesn't. Here, let me just start the timer. Getting musicians to do paperwork, um, that's a whole challenge. But show me one successful musician who doesn't know how to sign a contract, who doesn't know how to read through terms and conditions, who doesn't scrutinize their paperwork because they're almost expecting to get a raw deal. I've sort of stepped away from my role as a at one point I wanted to be a full-time performing musician because I thought that the music industry was a really glamorous place and the type of place where you were able to make your daily bread doing something that you loved. And I've since sort of grown out of that point of view, not completely. I mean, we played a Halloween gig 2 nights ago and I probably earned about 200 Rand, but it was a lot of fun. So it's about being honest, in my opinion. I mean, the very nature of my work is based on honesty. The name of the band that I play in Pravda means truth. And I want to share the sometimes uncomfortable facts with younger musicians and say, okay, I'm not here to kill your dreams. I'm not here to squash your hopes or anything. I'm here to do something that other people don't do, which is to sweep away the false hopes that you have been fed through advertising and Spotify going, just get on a playlist and you're sorted. Cha-ching, money, money. That type of stuff is not real. And those people who are exploiting musicians, I'm not trying to be an activist here, but there's a great deal of the old preying on the young. And I want to break this cycle of mythology and just speak straight to the Mensa and go, you're young, you've got time, you've got a lot going for you, but you've got to make the right decisions. You've got to ask the right questions. And part of what I'm trying to do here is to share that type of messaging because I don't see it anywhere else. I don't see any other voice like this in society. And I think it's my kind of in a way our duty as the mentors now to speak up, you know. That's part of what I'm trying to do here. So yeah, sharing of knowledge. Now let's just talk practically. Unless anyone has anything they want to say right now, how do we do that?
I'll make a tiny point, which is I think that there's a distinction between just as in everything in life. I think I always get this feeling that the musicians put this like kind of moat around themselves as if we're all special,
Yes.
like it's owed to us, like why I mean I've studied and I've played and I know how to play these scales and these tunes. Why isn't someone paying me,
Yeah, exactly.
what I'm worth? And I think that what I learned within a corporate sphere I've done worked in quite a few industries is if you deliver value, you get paid. And whenever I speak to anybody in any role, but also creatives in roles, it's saying nobody cares about really what you do. They care about what you can do together, what you can do for them, and they'll pay you for that. And that's what life is. A subsistence farmer, you need to go out there and get what you need to eat. So I think changing the mindset from me and my music to
Yes.
how can my gifts deliver value for other people? Either one, because they've come to watch me and they're getting emotional love, or they get to dance, whatever that's value for people, they're going to pay for it. Or on a corporate level, I've written them a song, a jingle, I've done some dialogue for them, whatever the case may be. That's I think the difference. And I also see that as I can see the difference between successful people who are in the music industry and those who are not, is that mindset switch. And then within that is just the complexity of how much do I sacrifice, or what balance do I have between, I guess, the feeling of selling my soul or the feeling of having to graft on things that aren't as close to my heart as I'd like them to be, versus how much time do I dedicate towards my craft? Like John said, 200 Rand for the gig. It's not a money maker. It's a love thing. It's a heart thing. But then you go home and you spend another few hours on the money maker. So I find that that's the big difference. Is that mindset switch between me versus how can my gifts provide value that I can get paid for.
Which in one word for me is maturity. That to me is the definition of maturity, is understanding that life is a conversation and you never get 100% what you were aiming for. And if you ask most of the musicians aged 15 to 25 what they're aiming for, they're going to say something along the lines of, I want to play Wembley Stadium, because they've been spoon fed their dreams. They don't really understand what they themselves are working for. When you get older, when you get more mature, you realize, I should be aiming for a balance of factors, because playing Wembley Stadium comes at a hell of a cost. To play Wembley Stadium, you pretty much you need to be a little bit insane and probably have a pretty bad substance abuse habit and not a lot of family connections. Those are the types of things you sacrifice to get to that level. But no one tells you that side, because that doesn't sell any subscriptions. So yeah, basically straight dope, I think, is a good starting point. My concern is always like the practicalities of that. Like, how do you get through? Yeah, what can we do to get through to, say, Trudy, do you have the actual name of a child or a young adult that you have been in contact with, either from Delft or along the way anywhere, the type of person that we could serve in some way? What is that person's name? Just let's use them as a hypothetical situation, a symbol of their peers.
To single out one youngster.
Yeah, exactly. Just as a symbol.
Maybe not even their real name, but like just a name, and if you could describe like what I guess is almost a good, for lack of a better word, stereotypical. What is the mental picture we can kind of put to somebody who's in a space that we can help?
Yeah, tell us about the people that you seek to serve.
Okay, so I'm no longer with the Delft Music School that I spoke about. So I'd hesitate to, mention actual children's names. Fine. You have the two types of children who come to that kind of school. The one would be, so at that particular school, the children are given instruments to use for as long as they're members of the school, of the academy. And the lessons are held once a week. They learn theory, practical, and they play in ensembles, and the focus is on jazz, with leaning towards exposing them to more South African compositions. So our teachers are people who've been playing in the jazz world for a while, etc. So you have the children who come from homes where maybe daddy has played in the klopse, that kind of thing. There's a musical background where people can play, and it's very much a part of their lives and so on. But no one has learned to read music. So that child becomes someone who may still play in the klopse over Christmas time and so on, but who now has the added benefit of being able to read, etc. But maybe there's no other infrastructure for that child to do anything with music other than come to the academy and learn, and who knows what else. Whereas there's another kind of kid at the school whose parents would say, this child loves music so much, has progressed, etc. We're going to place him or her at a high school that's one of these arts-focused schools. And then the child takes music as a school subject. So far, there's been that kind of thing, where some children, you just sort of hope something good comes of it. And then with others, it actually becomes a school subject. They do exams, etc. And there's more of a seriousness towards it.
Okay, that's
in terms of, I think that, as I said, I'm out of the running of that school now. I left my job, etc. But I think they were trying to introduce a system of regular workshops where either musicians came and chatted to the kids and did a demo or whatever, or other related people. So I think coming to do some kind of workshop and talking to them, like you were saying now, John, demystifying all of that glamour, that kind of intervention is helpful. And I mean, it could be done virtually as well, where we could set screens up and they could all sit and watch, but it's nice also for them to meet actual people from the industry.
Absolutely.
And then also I know they do teacher workshops. So even to come and like chat to the teachers and say, look, you guys have been gigging for 40 years, sort of like, just, it's never too late for people to up their games in terms of how they go about what they do,
I mean, that's such, I love that attitude so much. That's truly what you've just said now. It's never too late, and there's always something you can do. There's always something you can do to make your situation a bit better. You know, you go in one of two ways, either way. And for me, at least the skills that I can provide, and Matt and I can provide, and this type of community can provide, it's a focus on becoming computer literate. And you'll see also a lot of these musicians a lot of musicians in my circles, so we're not talking people in their 30s, it's like the first time it's dawned on them that they can use their musical talents to actually produce music, which is a totally different world to gigging. You know what I mean? Particularly now, when you follow the path that I've taken, because I'm privileged enough to have all of this stuff and I've been able to afford instruments and software and all of that. But even without that privilege advantage, you can still start to produce your own music and learn the principles of it, because that will actually open you up to not just the music industry, but the content production, or you could call it the broadcasting industry. So what I'm going to do, as long as I know you, I know I just met you now, but as long as I know you, I'm going to try to persuade you to also think like this and to pass on this type of messaging to those people in your circles. Get online and start producing your own music online using the tools that you have available, whatever that is. If it's a laptop, fine. There's even phone apps now where you can start to produce backing beats. So many of these guys and, you know, ladies and gents would be inspired if they just had a little 10-minute tutorial on how to create a backing beat that they could then jam along to. Now there's this new avenue, which is like, you can practice, you can make house music where you play the trumpet to the house music, and you just don't get to decide what type of value that has to other people. What if now, say, someone someone without a lot of opportunities decides, no, he or she's going to do this, and next thing you know, they're running an aux cable into their phone and they're playing beats off their phone and they're jamming the trumpet along there, and people are coming and saying, where did you get this stuff? And they say, no, I made this music. That to me is the type of story that I can really get behind, you know, because it's grassroots. There's nothing standing in the way of so many of these people except for their thinking, you know. We've got to change I feel compelled to try to plant those types of seeds.
I'm just going to make some notes while we've been chatting, and I think it's quite, obviously this is one of those solving the world types of problems, but you know, I tend to try and think in systems rather than
ideals.
So for example, like, you know, having workshops or having talks, you know, from random people every week can be very beneficial, but having a plan of how those people or those talks lead up to some sort of definition of what is it that's trying to achieve. What does somebody who goes to every talk, every workshop, what does that person look like when they leave? How have they changed? What tools do they have? And what would we expect them to be able to do if they have the motivation, if they have the internal willpower to do it?
I agree.
So things like, you know, having a plan of like, what does that person look like? And then as I thought a bit more about it, was listening, it's also, you know, there aren't a lot of workplaces where you could just apprentice or just find out how to do this stuff or whatever. So what I found very beneficial, and I'm sure John has as well, and a lot of musicians have this self-starter kind of, they have to, it's almost a necessity in a lot of ways. But how do you teach somebody to be able to identify what they want, what they need to get there, and how to obtain those resources? Which is, I don't think it's a difficult skill set to do. It's a mindset switch from, you know, where's the library or where's the classroom that they will show me what to do, versus what is your own curriculum according to your life? Where's the library? Where's Google? Once you've got a few things that are a little bit flaky, but you've made an effort, who can you go to that will help you because you've made an effort? There's a lot of that stuff. And then I think, Trudy, you mentioned opportunity, which I think is one of the biggest key things. Is it's all good and well if you work your butt off, but if there's no opportunity for you, it's all for nothing. So I think a huge part of that is saying to as you said, I think in the beginning about identifying certain individuals or certain possibilities. So I think in parallel, having avenues of opportunity for people who are putting in the time and the energy and the work and doing it smart, so that there is hope. There's always something like, if I just work hard enough, I know that there is an avenue, there is a hook that I can get onto, there is something that I can do if I work hard enough, that I can go somewhere. And then have the ability to plan goals, plan a vision of some kind, even if it's just direction finding. I know what I want in life, so I have to go somewhere in this direction. I'm not a big fan of 5-year plans, because I think things change day to day. But as long as you're going in the right direction, you're working hard, you'll go from strength to strength. I think that's the key, is just teaching people how to fish rather than giving people fish. I think is the key.
Forming habits rather. Ross, meet Trudy. Trudy, meet Ross.
Ross.
Yeah.
Hi, Ross.
Hey guys, hey, sorry to be late and all that, but that sounded deep, but nice to meet you, Trudy.
We're playing some deep house tonight, bro.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah, we're at the point in the conversation now where we're looking at outcomes for younger musicians who have a musical background and ability, but that's basically all the opportunity that they can see. And so we're looking at ways of sharing knowledge. And I think, Trudy, it looks like you're writing down a lot there. Are you being inspired by the conversation? The idea just being to crowd solve problems. That's the one we're looking at now.
I always write. I'm a compulsive writer, but I have to carry over to the people I'm doing research for what I found out in the session.
Okay. Well, I hope it's beneficial to. Yeah.
You mentioned, sorry, the word research just triggered another thought I meant to say earlier. I filled out a questionnaire. I think it was. I might be incorrect, but I think it was a Samro based thing, or might have been funded by Samro or something. There was a thing online that they were just doing questionnaires for musicians or people in the music industry, and one was to find out how people made money, but also trying to educate people, show people, listen, there's actually a whole host of ways you can make money in music, which is really ties in well with what some of the questions here. I thought that might be a really good place to kind of link up, because I know that they want to do workshops on the different income streams within music, whether it's publishing or this or that, or voiceovers or whatever the case may be. So there is somebody else around trying to tackle those things. I'm not sure on what level or when they will execute on that kind of stuff. But that seems like it's really a really good match,
Thanks.
I actually already there was a job application, blog writing application.
I'm gonna go.
With that
I'm gonna go have a look while you.
Sure, you can check that out. I applied to it. The lady got back and said basically, thanks for applying, keep you on file type of thing. So already there is a kind of connection there. The goal, at least, is for me to demystify the music industry for younger artists, and then also to provide them with the actionable stuff. It's no good giving them a 10-page PDF to read. If they're the type of person that reads stuff that, a 10-page PDF, if they're the type of person that even has an email address, then they're well on their way to being the type of self-reliant artist, and like Matt said, it's not just about gigging. There are other revenue streams, but they actually require different skills. So music is almost like the root of the tree. You can have a good theoretical and practical knowledge of music, but if you want to make money, then your skills start to drift away from that a bit. As long as you get to retain some aspect of musicality, I'll speak from experience here, you'll be happy. If you get a balance between the admin and the creative, then you'll be happy. But I think the first step is to demystify and say, okay, it's never going to be 100% just jolling and getting paid for it, because you might have those periods in life, but they're going to come and go, and what you want is a career, sustainable. Take a long-term approach, especially for the younger ones. I'm gonna just
do you think that's sorry, John?
No problem. I'm gonna end the recording within the next 5 minutes, so after that we can.
Cool.
What were you gonna say?
Thanks so much. Do you think it's a case of the demystifying the current music industry versus like the noughties and the 90s, right? Where in general, people would rely on agents and managers to kind of do everything, and well, that's the way it should have been. But now that there's power within themselves with the things we've been discussing, you know, the social and the internet aspect of it, versus, I mean, they still need that manager who knows the contracts and all that, but because the different ways of making money within that, right? That still should be like a management thing versus, you know, the creator themselves, right? Because we've spoken about that, like actually dedicating time to actually do the admin side of it, taking away from the creative side. But because they, if it's demystified, then that whole sort of fantasy of one song, I'm gonna make it big, and then whatever happens will just be easy, right? That still exists. So
That's
so
the challenge.
yeah, if there's a exactly. So I mean, what you've basically been doing, it's more for the creator or the composer, right? But the artist aspect of that is always just going to be the separate thing. You know, there's two different copyrights. So if they're looking at just the performance aspect of it, the image, all of that the publicist is releasing versus the publisher, I think it's always got to be a case of you know, that sort of narcissistic approach is like, oh, you just need to be it, and everyone should be like you, and then they're missing out if they haven't heard you or what you represent and all those sort of things, right? It's a hectic act to put on, but to actually make it or to stand out, like those are generally the people that do that, right? Not the people who are really the most musical people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. What do you guys think about that? Cool.
I've been looking into. I was in.
Cool. I gather that's not my net, right? Is that Trudy's?
I think it's Trudy, yeah.
Interested in the Cape Town based. Oh, sorry. Am I back? Summer.
You just came
Yep,
back.
there we go.
Please,
You're
sorry
back.
to
You're back.
interrupt.
Okay. I was just telling my daughter our
Let me just
internet.
take this opportunity to. I'm just gonna end the recording and also the chat. So thank you very much, everybody, for today. I'll get this online ASAP.